Easter Island, the Guardians. Who never sleep? The greatest mystery. Humanity dares not answer. 1. The island in the middle of nowhere. Imagine standing on the deck of a ship in the middle of the South Pacific Ocean. In every direction around you, only water. Nothing else. The horizon is so empty you begin to wonder whether you are dreaming. You have sailed thousands of nautical miles without sighting a single piece of land. The nearest landmass is more than 2,000 kilometers away. Then suddenly, a dark streak appears on the horizon. On Easter Sunday, 1722, Dutch navigator Jacob Roggeveen spotted that streak and ordered his crew to change course. As the ship drew closer, he saw something unimaginable. A desolate, arid volcanic island with barely a tree in sight. But that was not what stopped Roggeveen cold. What stopped him was what was standing on the shore, looking back toward his ship. Hundreds of enormous stone faces, silent, motionless, yet something in their hollow gaze made even the most hardened sailors feel a chill run down their spines. Roggeveen named the island after the day he found it, Easter Island. But the indigenous people, the Rapa Nui, had a different name for their island, one they had used for thousands of years. They called it Tapito o Tehenua, the navel of the world. Not a small island, not a remote land, but the navel, the center of the entire world. Someone taught them that. The question is who? 2. 887 Guardians and what they are watching. After years of research, archaeologist Joe Ann Van Tilburg compiled the definitive catalog, 887 Moai statues across the island. Of these, 288 had been transported to ceremonial platforms. 397 still lay in the quarry, and 92 had been abandoned, mid-route during transport, as though the workers had suddenly stopped, left everything behind, and vanished. But those dry figures do not convey the most important fact. Every statue that was completed and erected faces inward, looking into the island and not out to sea, as though they were guarding something within, rather than warning those approaching from outside. With one small exception, 7 statues at the site of Ahu, Akavi, face out to sea, and they face precisely the direction from which the first settlers arrived long ago, as though someone placed these outward-looking guardians as a signal, or welcome, for those who knew which direction to come from. Who knew that? And how did they know? 3. Details that cannot be explained, that science has not dared state plainly. Consider the following details, one by one, and ask yourself, could all of this have been accomplished by a small tribe on a desolate volcanic island, with no metal tools, no wheels, no draft animals? First, scale beyond imagination. The largest statue ever found, known as El Gigante, stands 21.6 meters tall and is estimated to weigh between 145 and 165 tons. All 887 statues, some weighing up to 80 tons, were topped with pukao headdresses, each weighing up to 13 tons, carved from an entirely different type of stone, quarried from a completely different location on the island. Second, a strange incompleteness. When archaeologists surveyed the Rano Raraku quarry, they found hundreds of thousands of carving tools, stone hammers, stone chisels, left exactly where they had been used. Not stored away, not tidied up, as though the craftsman had just set them down and vanished. Many statues remained fused to the bedrock, never separated. The work stopped abruptly, not because materials ran out, not because the project was complete, but because something happened. Something that caused an entire project, a monumental undertaking to which generations had devoted their entire lives, to halt in an instant, as though someone had pulled the plug. Third, wood that has no business being here. In a 2024 study, scientists applied new, radiocarbon dating techniques to 4 wooden tablets inscribed with Rongorongo script. One was identified as coming from a species called Podocarpus latifolia, a tree native to East Africa, not Polynesia, not South America, Africa. How did a piece of African timber come to rest on an island in the middle of the South Pacific, more than half the circumference of the Earth from Africa? No one has an answer. Poitre, Rongorongo, a message 150 years unread. When French missionaries arrived on Easter Island in 1864, they discovered something that astonished them. In every house on the island there were wooden tablets or branches covered in strange characters, images of animals that did not exist on the island, human figures, geometric forms. This was the only writing system independently invented in the Pacific region. It placed the Rapa Nui in the same class as the Sumerians, the ancient Egyptians, and the Chinese, civilizations that had developed their own original scripts. But unlike those civilizations, Rongorongo has never been deciphered. Only around 15,000 legible characters survive across all the remaining tablets. There is no Rosetta Stone for comparison. The original Rapa Nui language was so thoroughly mixed with Tahitian over the centuries that linguistic comparison has proven extremely difficult. According to Rapa Nui tradition, only the elite, priests and chiefs, were permitted to read or inscribe these tablets. It was not a common writing system, but a repository of esoteric knowledge, sacred wisdom that only a select few were permitted to possess. So, what was that esoteric knowledge? What was so important it had to be encoded in a language not everyone could read? And when the last people who could read it died, from disease, from Peruvian slave traders who abducted the islanders, from the destruction wrought by Europeans, they took that secret with them to their graves, forever. 5. How they moved the statues, and what science dares not say. This is the question scientists have debated for centuries, and the most recent official answer contains a detail that makes you stop and read it again. Using 3D physics simulation and real-world experiments, Professor Carl Lipo's research team at Binghamton University confirmed that the Moai statues truly did walk, requiring only ropes and a surprisingly small number of people. With just 18 individuals, the team moved a replica statue weighing 4.35 tons a distance of 100 meters in just 40 minutes. But here is what no one emphasizes enough. That experiment involved a 4-ton statue. The largest statue weighs 165 tons, and hundreds of statues weighing 80 tons were transported across rugged volcanic terrain, sometimes as far as 18 kilometers from the quarry. Using that walking technique, how many people would be needed to move an 80-ton statue? And when the island's entire population, at the highest estimates, numbered only a few thousand, including the elderly, women, and children, who was growing food, fishing, cooking, while the remainder spent months walking 80-ton blocks of stone? But more important than anything else, what does Rapa Nui legend itself say about this? They do not speak of ropes. They do not speak of sweat and human muscle. They say the statues were moved by mana, divine and supernatural power. According to Rapa Nui cultural memory, the Moai, imbued with the spirit of the Ariki, chiefs, they represented, literally walked by themselves from the quarry to their final positions. Science calls this mythology. But the Rapa Nui lived alongside those statues for thousands of years. They witnessed them being created and moved. Are we, arriving thousands of years later, really more confident than they were about what happened on their own land? 6. The Erich von Däniken case, and why it cannot be entirely dismissed. In 1968, Swiss researcher Erich von Däniken published Chariots of the Gods, and the world never looked at Easter Island the same way again. In his book Return to the Stars, he wrote, "A small group of intelligent beings became stranded on Easter Island due to a technical malfunction. This stranded group possessed an enormous wealth of knowledge, advanced weapons, and a method of working stone entirely unknown to us. Perhaps to leave the indigenous people a lasting memory of their presence, or perhaps as a signal to the companions searching for them, these strange visitors carved the giant statues from volcanic rock. Most of the mainstream scientific community dismisses this theory. But on what grounds? By saying the indigenous people were capable of doing it. Yet when pressed for specifics on how, the answers tend to be vague, inconsistent, or dependent on untested assumptions. What truly cannot be denied is this: Easter Island sits in a position of almost unbelievable isolation, with extremely limited resources. No trees large enough to serve as levers or rollers. No evidence that wheels were ever used. No draft animals, in fact, no native mammal species of any kind on the island. And yet, 887 statues stand there, up to 21 meters tall, up to 165 tons in weight. 7. The sky and what the Rapa Nui knew. This is the detail few people mention, and yet it may be the deepest mystery of all. The Rapa Nui, inhabitants of a tiny island in the middle of a vast ocean, with no contact with any major civilization, possessed a system of astronomical knowledge that was comprehensive and precise beyond all expectation. They knew the names and positions of hundreds of stars. They could read the sky to navigate across open ocean. They possessed a calendar system based on solar and lunar cycles far more complex than anything a small tribe on an isolated island would need. And Rongo, the undeciphered writing system. Experts have so far been able to identify only some material relating to a calendar and possibly genealogies within it. The vast majority of its content remains entirely unknown. What if the Rongo tablets are not history, not genealogy, but star maps? What if they contain coordinates, instructions, or even messages from whoever taught the Rapa Nui everything they knew about the stars? And whoever those people were, where did they come from? Where did they go? 8. The work that stopped, and the island's apocalypse. There is a detail too few people consider. It was not only the construction that stopped abruptly. The entire civilization collapsed abruptly. The Rapa Nui erected statues for centuries. Then, at some point, scientists still debate the exact date, they did not merely stop building. They began destroying. This period is known as Huri Moai, the toppling of the statues, when the islanders began pulling down the very monuments their ancestors had devoted their lives to creating. Why? What had happened? There is one theory never spoken aloud. Something came, and then it left. And when it left, the Rapa Nui fell into despair. They destroyed the statues not out of anger, but out of grief. Because the statues had lost all meaning once whoever had created them, or ordered their creation, was gone. Think about it this way. If you had built an airport and the planes never came back, would you eventually tear it down? 9. When every clue leads to the same place. Looking from above, from the perspective of the cosmos, where exactly does Easter Island sit? It sits almost precisely at the center of the Pacific Ocean, ancient sea routes connecting Polynesian civilizations, South America, and possibly others. All of them could converge at a single central point. At that central point, and the people living at that central point called their land the navel of the world. Is this coincidence or something more? 10. The questions no one dares ask. More than 300 years since Jacob Roggeveen first saw those enormous stone faces standing silent on the shore, humanity still cannot answer the most basic questions. Who created them? Because a Norwegian archaeologist himself felt compelled to write in his report. We can state one thing with certainty. The statues on this island were not the work of the island's indigenous inhabitants. By what means? Because no answer to this question is fully satisfying in terms of physics and logic. Why it stopped? Because the work ceased, abruptly in a way no natural or social explanation can fully account for. What Rongorongo says, because after more than 150 years of effort, no one has deciphered it, and the only people who could read it died carrying the secret to their graves. Why they knew about the stars? Because the Rapa Nui's astronomical knowledge far exceeded anything necessary for a small community on an isolated island. And the final question, the one no one dares speak aloud, but everyone thinks when standing before those enormous stone faces. What are they looking at? 887 statues, centuries of labor, a civilization that devoted its entire existence to creating these colossal guardians. There must have been something worth guarding, something important enough for people to pour their entire lives into. And those guardians still stand there, silent. 887 stone faces gazing inward at something only they know, waiting for something to return. The work that stopped, and the island's apocalypse.